nursing," he barked, slamming his hand on the table. "You think because you can sweep a floor, you can heal a body? Look at you! You have no money, no father, and no future beyond these walls." He stood up. In the heart of the city, Armania and her uncle lived in peace. Every morning, Jomo would look at her with tears in his eyes, pleading for forgiveness for the years he stole from her childhood. Armania would always smile and hold his hands. "Uncle, stop looking back," she would say. "The past is a finished book. I have forgotten, and I have forgiven you completely." Life rewarded Armania's kind heart. She met a wealthy and God-fearing doctor. Their love was like a storybook, and soon they were married in a beautiful ceremony that the whole city talked about. Years passed like a beautiful dream. Armania and her husband were blessed with beautiful children. Their home was filled with laughter, wealth, and the presence of Uncle Jomo, who lived with them as a grandfather. But one day, while the doctor was at the hospital and Armania was at the clinic, the uncle who had been pleading for years did the unimaginable. The shadow of greed had returned to his heart. Jomo knew where the doctor kept the emergency gold and the documents for their properties. While the children were napping, he packed everything into a suitcase, the very wealth that was keeping the family secure. Jomo didn't look back. With the suitcase full of Armania's gold and property documents, he disappeared into the night. He thought he was heading toward a life of luxury, leaving the girl who loved him in tears. But evil money never rests. On the outskirts of the city, Jomo was cornered by ruthless robbers. They didn't care about his age or his pleas. They beat him mercilessly and stripped him of every single thing he had stolen. As the rain began to fall, Jomo lay in the dirt, the same dirt he once forced Armania to work in. He had traded a warm home and a loving family for a suitcase that was now gone. He was left with nothing but his broken bones and his regrets. Word travels fast. Within days, the news spread from the city streets to the furthest village. People were shocked. How could he do this to Armania? They asked. The story of his betrayal became a shadow over his name. Armania's husband, the doctor, used his influence to alert the authorities, but when they found the site of the robbery, there was only blood and an empty suitcase. Jomo had vanished. Some say he survived and is hiding in shame. Others say the earth claimed him that night. To this day, no one knows his whereabouts. He became a ghost, a warning to those who choose greed over grace. Armania wept, not for the gold, but for the soul of the man she tried to save. She realized that you can open a door for someone, but you cannot force them to walk through it with a clean heart. Greed is a hungry fire. The more you feed it, the more it burns you. Jomo was already forgiven. He was already living a life of comfort, but his eyes wanted what his hands didn't work for. Never bite the hand that feeds you, and never betray the heart that forgives you. When you try to steal a blessing, you end up carrying a curse. When someone steals from you, they are only taking things. They can't take your skills, your hard work, or your spirit. Armania lost her documents, but she didn't lose her dream. Build your life so strong that even a storm of betrayal cannot knock it down. Armania walked through her house, seeing the empty spaces where her jewelry and documents used to be. It wasn't the loss of the money that hurt. It was knowing her own blood relative sat at her table while planning to ruin her. The doctor took Armania to the city police station the next morning. The officer looked at the photos of the stolen items. "We found a scene on the highway," the officer said grimly. "A man was attacked. No suitcase was found. Only blood and tire marks." The doctor looked at his wife. His wife's eyes was full of bitter tears. The police officer said, "They are still investigating the case." The doctor drove Armania to the outskirts of the city where the attack happened. They didn't find Jomo, but they found a single torn photo of Armania's wedding that had fallen out of his pocket. Even in his greed, he was carrying a piece of the family he destroyed. How could someone be so wicked, said the doctor, even after being so kind to him? At home, the kids were asking, "Where is Grandpa?" The phone rang at 2 a.m. It was the city police. They had found a crime scene on the bypass leading out of the city. The doctor looked at Amania. He didn't want to tell her that the uncle she just forgave had already met a dark end. When they arrived at the highway, the rain was washing away the evidence. The police officer pointed his light at the mud. 2 cars blocked him here, the officer explained. He tried to run, but he was carrying too much weight. His greed made him slow. Amania looked at the tire tracks in the dirt. She realized that Jomo was so busy looking over his shoulder to see if she was following him that he didn't see the real monsters waiting in front of him. "Where is the property? Where are my documents?" Amania asked. The officer shook his head. "Gone. The robbers took everything. They didn't just take your wealth, Amania. They took the man who stole it too." Days turned into weeks. The police searched the hospitals and the mortuaries, but Jomo was nowhere to be found. It was as if the earth had swallowed him whole as punishment for his betrayal. You can give someone a seat at your table, but you cannot give them a conscience. Amania gave Jomo love, but Jomo chose silver. In the end, he lost the silver, the love, and his own life. To everyone watching this, be content with what you have. Greed is a trap that looks like a shortcut. Jomo thought he was running toward wealth, but he was actually running toward his grave. Amania decided that the betrayal would not define her life. Instead of dwelling on the gold that was lost on that dark highway, she looked toward the future. In the heart of the city, where she had once welcomed a traitor, she now opened a door for the vulnerable. Justice did not come from a courtroom. It came from the earth itself. When greed grows too heavy, the ground can no longer hold it. After the earth swallowed her uncle and his stolen riches, Armani chose peace over bitterness. Armani and her husband decided to build a free clinic in remembrance of all the struggles she had overcome and to show the world that forgiveness is the greatest path to a blessed life. While the police never found the suitcase or the uncle, the city found a hero. Amania realized that Jomo was a prisoner of his own greed, but she was free. Every life saved in her clinic was a victory over the darkness that had tried to steal her peace. Standing on the balcony of her clinic, looking out at the city lights, Amania finally felt at rest. Her husband stood by her side, a partner in her mission. They had built a legacy that would outlive any stolen treasure. We all have an Uncle Jomo in our lives, someone we trust who might not deserve it. My advice? Be kind, but be wise. Forgive those who hurt you for your own peace, but don't give them a seat at your table if they only come to steal your food. Protecting your peace is not being selfish. It is being smart. True wealth isn't what you take. It's what you leave behind. Amania's story reminds us that even after the deepest betrayal, you can still choose to be a light. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Subscribe to see more stories of strength and justice.